Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer, joined by two of the best in the industry at breaking down injury, information, leans, and how it will affect betting markets, DFS markets, so on and so forth. Joined by Justin Fan from Underdog Fantasy, as well as Mike Gallagher, of course, from Establish the Run. 9-game slate ahead of us. Justin, how are you?
Great. He's doing some prep for the show, and then added a ton of work at the last minute with this Warrior stuff. I think we still can get a curveball or two with the Nets potentially resting some guys in the second leg. We're waiting on their injury report still, so maybe we get that during the show. In the next injury report, they did just recall Kessler Edwards about 10-15 minutes ago. Might be a tell, so we'll see on that.
Yeah, Mike, how are you on this fine Friday?
First and foremost, happy birthday, Dink!
Hey,
great one today.
Thank you.
Really, really.
1 year closer to being washed.
Very honored to be working with you in true Dink fashion. You're working on your birthday. Love it.
Have it no other way.
Yeah, I feel pretty good, man. Yeah, got a hike in today. Feeling strong, and yeah, I'm ready to tilt. I was ready to go. I was ready to go 28 after. I knew the Warriors news was coming. I was pretty sure some people were going to rest. I was ready to go. Shot the best line, got the best line, and I just lost that money. It's going to happen. But besides that, feeling pretty good today.
You guys are just pre-tilting. It's just amazing. All right.
You can't tilt if that's your natural state of being, right? Like you're not on tilt.
Yeah. Look, I'm a professional tilter. I do this for a living, so I get it. But man, this is like multiple hours in advance of the game. I start my tilt like a tip. I just tilt all the way through. But
I was literally tilting before I made the bet. My mic's over here, by the way. Sorry. Yeah. I was tilting before I made the bet.
Impressive work. All right, let's get into the slate. Let's start with the Warriors mass rest situation. No Klay Thompson, no Steph Curry, no Draymond Green, no Andrew Wiggins. Justin, what are your expectations for who they have available? What lineups will look like tonight? And will Jordan Poole finally pay off his price tag in one of these spots? Because it's been kind of a disaster for Poole in a lot of these spots previously.
So Kuminga and JaMychal Green, both probable, both fully expected to play. With those guys included, I count 9 available tonight because Ryan Rollins, I believe, is still in the G League. I went to the Santa Cruz wire. I didn't see any news of him being recalled just yet. He was sent down there on the 10th. So as of now, we have 9 pending Rollins's potential call-up, right? So we have the projected right now at Jordan Poole, Dante DiVincenzo, Anthony Lamb, Jonathan Kuminga, Kevon Looney. Obviously, I think the 6th starter and the guy who can potentially enter that starting lineup is Moses Moody. I think he's interesting. I think there's a lot to talk about here because Kuminga's been out, so we're going to be a little bit conservative. I think with his minutes initially in his first game back, there's been some ramp up there for sure, and I don't think he's ready initially to go full minutes, which is a bit of a problem just given, they're playing the Cavs, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, a bigger team. I think I wouldn't expect full minutes from Kuminga. I think we'll see a decent amount of Patrick Baldwin Jr. Off the bench. Michael's just coming back as well. So, man, this is going to be a really tough spot. I mean, the Warriors are horrific on the road, especially defensively. And this one has major blowout risk all over it to where I'd probably be under, and I would probably expect a lot of these Warriors guys to disappoint. We've seen these mass rest spots before where one of these games they put up like 80 points, and another point, they barely cracked 100. So this could be another spot where they get blown out and this offense really struggles to score consistently.
Yeah, I'll add Dink earmuffs. I don't want to say G League on your birthday, but so the Santa Cruz guys, they're in Mexico City. They play the coolest name, the Capitans, today. So there's a chance that he's there and he can't cross the border. So that's something to add as well. But I think you laid it out really nicely. And I'll add, JaMychal's gone through a lot, man. Don't forget he had COVID, then he had a leg infection, put him in the hospital.
Yep.
So, I mean, he's going to have pretty hard cap. I would probably put him in the teens, upper teens, if like everything kind of goes bad, even in like a 9-man rotation. And Kuminga's been ramping up a little bit. He's been practicing for like a week now, so I think he's got a shot at mid 20s. They probably wouldn't play him too much because it was it wasn't a minor injury. He did hurt his foot pretty bad. So, but yeah, you laid out pretty much everything else.
I'm glad you gave a number to that, because I think limitations with Kuminga. Kuminga is the guy most people are going to want to play in these situations. He's the guy that's been the most popular in the past. Is that your line of thinking as well, Justin? Like mid 20s is kind of the target for Kuminga tonight, but probably not the 33, 34, 35 that we've seen in the past in these spots.
Yeah, and I think kind of a snowball effect. You kind of look at this rotation, right? Kuminga is going to be limited. JaMychal Green's going to be limited. I don't imagine Kevon Looney is going to play a ton in the second leg of back-to-back. So where are those minutes going to go to? And I think, you can see some pretty elevated minutes for from some of these supporting players as well, just as a result of they have 9, assuming Ryan Rollins doesn't call it, they'll have 9 guys available, and 2 of those guys will be limited, and another in Kevon Looney I don't expect to play a ton in this spot either. So it could be, elevated for guys like Patrick Baldwin. I think he can play a little bit more than expected off the bench. He's a guy that really kind of showed out in the preseason that they've been wanting to get some time, who plays 4. So, I think he can really fill in some of those gaps with his minutes, especially some ceiling with the blowout risk as well.
Yeah, and the blowout risk could curtail Jordan Poole from getting really high on the minute side as well, which would open up maybe more playing time for someone like Ty Jerome or something like that. So it might be a spot where we'll see where ownership shakes out, and we'll talk about all that stuff on the DFS show at 5:00 with myself and Gary. But it might be a spot where you're even looking into some of the Warriors reserves more than your other starters tonight.
Just to add 2 super quick things from the game. I mean, those rotations were it was like tighter than the final series rotations last night. The Pritchard not playing and nobody else really played. So
yeah,
pretty crazy rotation. And
you rarely see coaches make like one-off game rotation starting lineup adjustments, and that was a playoff game for the Warriors. I mean, they wanted like the Celtics play like a playoff game too. So usually you see coaches put the adjustment in their back pocket, save for the playoffs. But we saw Jordan Poole get the start of Kevon Looney. It looks like Kurt was saying it was like a multi-game thing. So we'll see on that.
Yeah, Dre must be feeling good.
Yeah, Looney had some interesting comments about with Boga getting benched and other centers and stuff. But I think we covered it. But one more thing. I thought Poole played pretty good defense. Just to throw that out there, I thought he was on
Jaylen Brown for the first half, and he was active. He got a couple of steals in that second half too. So that
was one of his best defensive games.
All right, let's move it to Cleveland on the other side of this. Donovan Mitchell is questionable here tonight. He missed last game. I have to think that the Warriors' decisions might impact the Cavs' decisions with Donovan Mitchell tonight. What are your thoughts there, Justin, on his availability? I'm going to you first, just in case Mike has not checked out starters jerseys, because
I do have some intel. Yeah. So Donovan Mitchell was that shoot around. He was putting up some.
Oh, look at Mike. He's ready.
Some post shoot around free throws. He didn't go through full shoot around, and he didn't have a practice jersey on. It was Karis LeVert that had the wine practice jersey that the starters typically wear. So we've seen this in the past though, where guys haven't worn the starters jersey and we maybe lean that they're out, but they actually end up playing. So it's kind of like on the fence on this one. But I think, the Warriors mass resting here is a pretty big, tell here, or pretty good reason for the Cavs to continue to exercise caution with Donnie and hold him out another game. They just definitely don't need him in the spot. They got like Harris LeVert. They have some wing depth. So I would expect LeVert to get another start. And the concerns here are the same as they are on the other side, the blowout risk, limiting some of these starters' minutes. Obviously, LeVert gets he doesn't get Jordan Poole anymore, right? What do you think, Gallagher? With this?
No, he would probably get
DiVincenzo.
Yeah.
So I mean the matchups are pretty good regardless, especially with how poor the Warriors have been defensively. They're losing Draymond Green, they're losing Andrew Wiggins, and they're placing with not as strong defensive players. But Yeah, I think. What do you guys think on this Cavs side, especially with this blowout risk on the other end?
If I could add real quick, I feel pretty confident Mitchell's not playing. Like on top of the Warriors sitting guys, he was in like sweats and he wasn't really like doing anything at practice yesterday. Mentioned today as well at shoot around. It just certainly seems like he's just not ready to go. It's a groin injury. That's something that usually takes a week off. He plays so many minutes too, so I think they don't want to chance it. But yeah, you can.
Yeah, it'll be a spot that you'll see the opportunity for incredible efficiency. We'll talk through more on the DFS side of things, but obviously the bigs will be pretty interesting, potentially piling up rebounds in limited time. Let's move to New Orleans, where Herb Jones and Najee Marshall are both questionable, in addition to obviously still being without Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson. So a lot of front court depth and issues here for New Orleans. They've been struggling of late, got blown out at home against Miami last time out. Justin, what's your read on the New Orleans wings here with Najee Marshall and Herb Jones?
So I tried to dig a little bit on Herb Jones. I spent like 20 minutes last night. I couldn't really find anything. So he's been like doubtful out, questionable out, doubtful out his last 4 games. And the last thing I heard about him was on Monday from Willie Green, who said he was quote unquote doing good. I haven't seen anything else on Herb at all. So I really have no idea where he's at with this back contusion. He landed hard on that back. Obviously a couple of games ago didn't return. So I don't really have a strong read on him. Najee is obviously another important depth piece. If he ends up missing, it's probably one of Jose Alvarado or Jackson Hayes that has to move in the starting lineup. But yeah, I would lean towards Herb being out, but I don't really have a ton there on him.
I don't know how much else either. Yeah, it's very odd. Like it looked like he was getting closer, and then he got that doubtful tag after. Like getting a doubtful tag after a questionable tag is like very, very odd. So and it's like as you mentioned, like he didn't like have back. He like hurt his back falling. I mean, unless he like fractured a vertebrae or something, that's a pretty long time to miss. So I think I'm maybe a little bit more confident than you, just because the nature of the injury doesn't sound as bad. But yeah, and do you have anything on Najee? I didn't really see too much there.
I don't really see too much on that either. The Pelicans have been very not great in terms of updating injuries. So we'll get the pregame media availability from Willie Green, and he just basically says if players are in and out or they're game time. He doesn't really add much color or context to the injuries.
All right, let's move to the Magic. Our Magic, #OurMagic. Markelle Fultz, illness. Franz Wagner, questionable with an ankle injury. Gallagher, you listed notes that Wendell has been missing practice, but he's expected to play tonight. They haven't played in a while since that buzzer beater by Jokic. I guess it wasn't a buzzer beater. I guess they had like a tenth of a second left or whatever. But they haven't played in a while since this road trip. First game back at home. What's your expectation tonight? Mike, I'll start with you. Do you have any notes on Franz in terms of availability tonight?
Yeah, so rolled his ankle at practice. Don't really know the severity. Interestingly, Jamal Mosley led with that information. Like he was like openly updating guys, which is nice to see. Looking at you Pelicans, but yeah. So I don't have too much on the how bad it was, but there's a chance he misses, right? With an ankle sprain. And I mentioned, as you noted in the notes, Wendell sat out for practice. We haven't like seen the minute ceiling, right? We never seen him get to like 35, 36, and that's a little discouraging, man. Because I really like this matchup here. The Pelicans are really bad around the rim. They're one of the worst. They are the worst teams at points per possession on dunks, layups, and tips. So it could be a pretty good spot if you can get it going. But Markelle Fultz illness. Curious to see him, not get a Q tag. That's something I want to watch as well, because we know teams have been pretty shady with illness reporting. So just keep an eye out on that.
Yeah, if Franz misses, we're expecting Bol to slide into the starting lineup. Is that right?
Yep.
I think so.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So we've seen Bol 18 minutes in both those games back after coming back from health and safety protocols. What would you guys expect his minutes to be if Franz ends up sitting?
I think he'd probably get back up to like 26, 27 would probably be my guess. I think so. I think they want to play him more minutes. I think they're just having a hard time finding the ability to do so with how the roster is just now that everybody's healthy. So I think he'd get back into the mid 20s. I don't think he has like 30 plus ceilings in him. just with the way that they're running things. But that was kind of my inclination. What are your thoughts, Mike?
Curious if they run Suggs up a little bit more. Suggs have been mostly playing behind Franz. So I think that's something I'd watch. Maybe his minutes come up a little bit. I was surprised you said that much. I thought you were going to say like 21, 22. As you're usually considered.
If he's starting, that's what I would think.
His minutes, he hasn't really popped off minutes wise,
And then,
even when he's starting,
yeah.
Even when he's starting,
that's
though,
true. That's true.
And they can kind of distribute those minutes in the second unit amongst like Cole, Suggs, Terrence Ross, and spread out a little bit more. So I'd probably go like 24, 26. Just okay. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I was thinking like 25 as well.
Yeah.
Ryan Rollins just got recalled. Fan.
Okay. Yeah.
There you go.
So that's 10 available for them now. The Warriors likely tonight. Let me see. Yeah, we got the stuff from Sacramento. We can cover a little bit, but yeah, I mean, with Franz off the court this season, we've seen Boncaro really bump his usage rate, 3.5%+ differential, and he also has the biggest assist rate differential too with Franz off the court this season. So I think he'd be in a really good spot. I guess out of necessity, Markelle Fultz would see more ball handling, more distributing opportunities as well. Anybody else out of this group you guys like if Franz is ruled out?
I think
like
even
Paolo
if Franz,
a lot. Yeah.
Do you? I think even if Franz is ruled out, like it's tough to get excited about the Magic guys. I haven't checked prices yet, so maybe the prices have come down reasonably, but they're just so deep. So like they're so deep now that even if you remove Franz, there's still a lot of guys who could soak up the minutes, and I'm not super confident in which ways they go. And Paolo's had, Paolo's my guy, but has not flashed the really high end ceiling. So I kind of have been like staying away from the Magic from a DFS perspective. Obviously, Franz out would change things, but
it's a really good matchup. The Pelicans in their last 4 games, they've given up 59 points at the rim per game. That's would lead the league by a lot. Teams missing Herb has really affected their perimeter defense, and teams are really getting downhill and squaring around them. So
that's assuming they continue to miss Herb. Right.
Like,
if Herb's back in, you wouldn't feel like it's a great matchup, right?
Right. That not as great. I still think it's a pretty good one. JV's rim protection's been pretty bad.
Yeah, but the thing is, they can flip the switch on that. Like they can take JV off the floor and play Nance. So like I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I know they've been struggling a lot defensively of late. It makes sense. They're down a lot of bodies, but we'll see. I'll get a better feel for the DFS side of things when we get on the show later.
Should add too one more thing really quick. The last month, they're giving up 42.4% 3-point frequency. It's the most in the league. Teams are just firing threes on them. So something to watch for Trey Murphy, who really let us down last time.
Yeah. No shoot around for the Magic this morning, by the way. So we still have the Franz being a game time decision, like was reported yesterday.
Okay. Let's move to the Atlanta side of things where Bogdan Bogdanovic is questionable. Trae Young opened the day questionable, but got upgraded to, I think it was available or probable, one of the two. Yeah. Probable. And then Capella, it sounds like the minutes restriction might be easing off. Justin, what notes do you have on Atlanta tonight?
Yeah, we're expecting Capella to re-enter the starting lineup tonight as he kind of sheds the restrictions. Trey looks like a full go off that upgrade. And we're also expecting Bogdanovic to go. He's popped up a couple times with that knee and mostly played through it. So I would expect Trey and Bogdan and Capella back in the starting lineup.
Yep. So possible starters jerseys watch. The Hawks don't really do it, but noteworthy that Okongwu and DeJounte Murray have different jerseys on.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta protect the brand a little bit here after some slip ups.
There he is.
Yeah.
So you think you think there's a chance that Capella's still coming off the bench as a result?
I'm with Fan. I feel pretty good that he's going to start today. He's been awesome. It's nothing to do with performance. It's purely minutes.
No, I think what Gallagher's getting at is Okongwu starting and DeJounte's coming off the bench, right?
Of course, yeah. DeJounte met the cover boy, by the way. I'm really into DeJounte today. I think he's going to have a really good matchup to hunt here. So,
and then it is notable that the Hawks are on the front end of a back-to-back. Do you think that impacts in terms of any minutes expectations on Capella, or do you think they would just rest him tomorrow? Like, do you think they'll try to middle this with playing him both games, or what are leans on approaches there? Justin, I'll start with you.
I probably lean on the middle where they would just
Okay.
kind of split the minutes and kind of ramp
Yeah.
them up slowly because they have a Congo in their back pocket. They don't need to really push Clint too much. So I'd expect his minutes to bump a little bit, but not too much, given it's the front end of the back. And
Yeah.
we should know though that we'll see the minutes tonight, and if it does really get up there,
Yeah.
then I'd be way more concerned about him sitting out tomorrow.
Yeah.
We can get a good tell from his minutes of what their plan is in this back-to-back set.
Your thoughts there, Mike?
Nope, pretty much nailed it.
Okay.
But yeah, I think we probably wind up going. I haven't looked at the minutes there yet, but I'd probably be 24-24, just straight split. Right.
Okay. Let's move to Denver, where Jeff Green is now listed questionable. It's been a while since we last saw Jeff Green. I am not even 100% sure that when he returns, if he's 100% got his rotation spot locked down, because Vlatko Konchar has played pretty well in that reserve role. I think he'd definitely get the opportunity to earn it back because he's the vet and they would give the guy the opportunity, but I'm not sure he'd hold on to it long term. Questionable left finger sprain / hand fracture on the injury report. Big spread tonight for Denver, 11-point favorites against Indiana on the front end of a back-to-back for the Pacers. Justin, what are your thoughts on Jeff Green's availability tonight?
Yeah, he's missed about a month. I think this blowout risk should give the opportunity for Konchar and Jeff Green and maybe get both get some minutes. But we've seen these spots before where a player's been out for so long and they're maybe be available technically, but not play for a couple more games until they're like fully integrated, fully back, practicing, and kind of are they're ready to step into game situations and rotation minutes. So there's not like some gaping hole, some big need in this spot for Jeff Green to play. And, he's already missed a month. I don't think, another game or two is going to make a huge deal. So I kind of middled with some minutes. I gave him a little bit, but I think Konchar's done enough to keep a rotation spot or remain in the mix tonight at least.
Yeah, I'll add Jamal Murray had some unprompted comments about how you like to play with Konchar so much. So you can read that two ways. Like, okay, one, maybe you should stay in the rotation, or two, like, hey, thanks for the minutes. You're out of the rotation now. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But other than that, not much to add. And should add, I think this is going to be a really big blowout, man. I mean, Pacers just got nothing. Denver's playing much better defense. Their offense is just completely humming. Pacers defense has really been slipping. So yeah, we're going to be playing into blowout, I think.
Okay, let's move to the other side of this, where Trevlin Queen got the questionable tag for the G League assignment. Gallagher, this is your specialty and your area of interest, so I'll let you handle it with your Trevlin Queen notes, and then we can move along.
Yeah, just quick. I mean, Carlisle really talked him up. So this is just kind of tying to what I was saying, that I think that there could be like a quicker hook. I'm not expecting Queen to be in the rotation, but I think if things go sideways early and they're down like 17-18 with like even eight minutes left, when teams normally wouldn't pull the plug, I think they might on the guards to get a longer look at Queen. They are in a back-to-back as well, so that's another factor that would go into this one.
Okay. Let's move to the LeBron questionable tag. We've talked about this before, that the LeBron tags have been a little bit more serious of late because we have seen him miss some games with the ankle soreness. Home game against Memphis tonight. What are your leans, Justin, on the questionable tag for LeBron with the ankle soreness tonight?
I mean, he's playing a ton, but I mean, unless there's a spot of back-to-back or he tweaks it, I'm kind of continuing to approach it like he's going to play through these Q tags. We got the comment on Monday from Darvin Ham saying the ankle wasn't affecting him too much. Some comments about them not wanting to play him that many minutes. So it's not really a tell for me that he's going to sit out. It's more that maybe if they can get away with it, they're not going to play him upper 30s minutes, close to 40 if they don't have to. But this might be just a situation just with how Memphis is playing, how well they're playing on both ends of the floor, especially defensively, that the minutes might just come down as a product of this game and then getting potentially blown out. So I don't expect him to sit. I expect him to continue to play through this Q tag.
Yeah, national TV game on ESPN. You'd be pretty surprised if he's sitting. And yeah, Darvin Ham had some comments saying like, because he was asked about it. He's asked about it every game because LeBron's playing so much.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, I go into every game like trying to keep him down, and I look at the box score after, and it's like 38, 39, like every time, and he can't help himself. He has no other choice. This team has no depth. So yeah, I would expect him to play a lot. Really bad matchup. Paint defense is excellent on the Grizzlies. Your defense has been really, really strong. Rim protection should be tough, bro. Probably not into LeBron, regardless of injury today.
On the Grizzlies side of things, Zaire Williams listed questionable, and it looks like Memphis will have their G League guys at their disposal tonight. Justin, do you have any read on Zaire Williams' availability?
No, I don't have a ton. I mean, the Grizzlies is their injury reporting is basically straightforward. We get the Grizzlies PR tweets and not a ton from their beat writers who are mostly MIA. We'll get some starting lineups, stuff like that, but this is the very bare minimum stuff from the reporters. So yeah, I don't have much on Zaire. The illness the day before at least was good. It's not the death knell of this game day illness. But yeah, I mean, I think this one kind of takes care of itself because there's just like some blowout risk. So know, guys will enter rotation. They have guys that they can kind of slide in there too. So I think they can't afford to hold Zaire out. And usually, the illness season through my database this season has leaned out with the questionable tag. So I think there's a decent chance he misses.
Yep. I would expect David Roddy to get in there. So for people who are playing maybe Showdown or something, then and maybe that's a teensy national TV narrative gets a maybe they go 9 to up Desmond Bane or something. Great matchup for the Grizzlies.
Yeah, I think they always want to play 10, and they have not had the opportunities to play Roddy or Laravia like they've been looking, or Williams, Vince Williams. So like they probably just go 10.
I would fully expect 10 with David Roddy.
100%. Just
okay, let's move to Domantas Sabonis, another big questionable tag on this slate in a late game. We saw him miss last game, and it was the Rashawn Holmes show as he played 30+ minutes, was really good in that spot start. Justin, you and the Underdog crew have notes that Sabonis went through shoot around, I believe. Do you want to fill in the people on your expectations of Sabonis tonight, who's questionable alongside Alex Len and Matthew Dova as well, who have not been in the rotation?
Yeah, I mean, Domas is a guy who plays through literally everything. So I think he really didn't want to miss last game, but he was just really under the weather. So him going through shoot around this morning is a pretty strong tell, just given his history that he's going to play tonight. I would be surprised if he didn't play tonight. I wouldn't expect any sort of minutes limit on him tonight either. So that's my expectation for Domas. A really good showing for Rashawn Holmes, in his first start of the season. But he'll go back to a more limited reserve role with Domas back.
Yep, he's doing stuff. Looks like a guy who's going to play. So
yeah,
there he is right there. So pretty good chance he's going to be out
action
there.
shots.
Man. We are upgrading. I gotta come with the heat on your birthday, man.
We've graduated from Stingers jerseys picture to video.
Playing 4D chess right now with starters jersey watch.
Very, very impressive. Let's move to the doubtfuls and the outs. Christian Wood is going to miss tonight's game and some time, it seems like, for Dallas. Timothy Hardaway Jr.
Hold on 1 second. I think Jokic just got added questionable to the injury report.
Do we get the Nets?
We just got it. Jokic added with a hamstring tightness, questionable now.
He's not playing tonight.
And Chanchar is questionable, or Conchar is questionable as well with an illness. So that's
Jeff Green season.
That's Jeff Green season. That's Jeff Green music right there.
Jeff Green.
Yeah,
I think no Nets though. Nets in file.
Nets in file. Yeah.
I think the Nuggets are going to be pretty opportunistic.
Do we bet that? Do we bet closing line? Do we bet Indiana plus 11 right now or no?
I mean, you do whatever you'd like.
I'm gonna throw like $5 on it just to like have it.
It seems like the worst approach possible. Just like betting closing line value for money that doesn't make a difference and get your account flagged sooner. Seems like the
I mean, you're gonna get flagged one way or another, so it's inevitable.
$5 at a time.
I'm kidding. I didn't put $5 down, but I didn't go full unit.
Let's get back to Dallas. Christian Wood not going to be with the Mavs for a little bit. Timothy Hardaway Jr. back. How does this impact things in terms of the starting lineup? Mike, I'll go to you while Justin works on on the Denver stuff.
Yeah, so I'd like to give the 2 days ago. I wish I had two more hands to talk about 2 days ago. So I gave those injuries 2 thumbs down. We got Mitch and we got Christian Wood dealing with thumb injuries. Hate to see it, but yeah, pretty straightforward. They're getting Tim Hardaway Jr. back, so I would expect them to start Dwight Powell back in the first unit, Luka, Spencer Dinwiddie, THJ, and Dorian Finney-Smith, who's played a lot in his return. So. But yeah, Dwight's minutes should come up. Probably see a little McGee. Curious to see how small they go, especially in this matchup where I think they're going to really want to lean in 3-point shooting. So we saw them at times last year in longer stretches, and even like in clutch spots, playoffs where they would play Dorian Finney-Smith in small ball lineups at the center spot. And they want to play Hardy. You know, they like Josh Green. They have way better wing depth than they're kind of used to, I guess. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's just a ton of small ball here to really lean into 3-point shooting against this Miami Heat defense. And one other note, too, I want to add, man, Luka gets no zone. Of all his possessions in the last 2 seasons, he's only had like 40 shots against zone. I mean, he's shot thousands of times. So, teams don't play zone against Luka for what it's worth. He's been great in the small sample this year, and he was terrible in it last year, just to add that. But wouldn't expect too many minutes out of Powell. I mean, there's a chance he gets up there, but there's a chance he's really down.
Yeah, I think that probably the biggest winner for me out of this Wood injury is Spencer Dinwiddie.
100%.
Really, seeing his role slide with Wood in the starting lineup, and we do the query, and Dinwiddie is the biggest beneficiary this season with Wood off the floor. I mean, plus 2.5% usage rate bump for him. So I think his floor is pretty nice as the Heat should throw the kitchen sink with all sorts of looks at Luka, trying to stop him, trying to neutralize him. I think it can really open things up for Dinwiddie.
Yeah, I gave him the great matchup tag for the reasons you cited, and he's one of their better knockdown shooters too. So it's
and we know this Heat defense is a funnel 3-point attempt defense. They'll give up a good amount of threes, so that fits in with Dinwiddie as well.
All right, let's move to the Knicks, who are going to be without Mitch Robinson for a while. It seems like. We've been having a lot of conversations around the Knicks projections today because it's just challenging when they're down guys and they don't really want to go deep into their rotation. I think they closed last game with the small ball lineup with Randall at the 5, Brunson, Quickly, Grimes, and Barrett. Mm-hmm. The matchup tonight against the Hawks makes it a little bit tougher to do that, you would think. But those are the 5 guys that Tibbs trusts. The rest, not so much. So Justin, what are your thoughts on how they start, how they handle the center spot, what a combined minutes expectation for Hartenstein and Sims is? We've seen in 8 games previously where Mitch Robinson has missed, they've averaged about 42, 43, somewhere around there. Yeah. They only combined for 18 second half minutes in that second half that Mitch was out. Sims was in foul trouble, but so was Julius Randle. Mm-hmm. In that game. So what are your thoughts in terms of minutes expectations here for the centers? Because I think people are going to want to get to center value in New York, and it has really big upside, especially if it's Hartenstein. We've seen him play really big minutes and be really effective. These guys are going to be min price, so they're going to be really, really valuable. What are your thoughts on how the Knicks approach things tonight?
Yeah, I would put Hartenstein and Sims around 42 minutes combined. I think they'll run some smaller stuff. We saw about 5 minutes of overlap per game between Obi and Julius during that 8-game sample that Mitchell Robinson was out. I think we want to play Hartenstein, obviously. We're expecting him to start, and he should play, lower mid 20s in terms of minutes. But the usage rate for Hartenstein has really cratered in that first unit. Like 15.5% usage as a reserve, down to 10% as a starter. So, we've seen that 8-game sample, even though he played 5 more minutes per game than Jericho Sims. Sims was the more productive of the two just because he had more opportunity in that second unit. So, bit of a tough situation there. We've seen, some rebound rate bumps for Jalen Brunson and RJ Barrett in the sample without Mitchell Robinson. And then during that stretch, I think it also really helps Quickly's minutes floor as well. Mm-hmm. So during that 8-game stretch that Mitchell Robinson was out, Cam Reddish, a name we haven't heard in a while, when he was in the Knicks rotation, was averaging 29 minutes a game during that stretch. And that Cam Reddish role is now Emmanuel Quickly's role as the lead reserve guard. So we saw IQ's minutes, I think, got up to like 31 last game off the bench, 32. So his minutes score should be elevated as well, as we get some smaller lineups, some smaller looks, as we saw as it closed on Wednesday with Randall at center. So a lot to kind of get through there. But I think we have that 8-game sample where Mitchell Robinson was out earlier this season, pretty representative of what I think will happen.
Yeah, Tibbs sounded like he basically said that we have 3 centers, one of them being Randall, which was a bit off for how Tibbs framed things. He's always framing like, oh, we need to win the rebounding game, etc. And they're great in that department. They're one of the best teams there. But against Capella, against a team as great as Capella is, they're pretty bad on the O glass, even when Capella was in there. So if it was anybody else, I think we would probably run 35, 36, 37, true center minutes. But I think we got to 40. I feel like there's a pretty good chance they're going to close. Kind of matters if they're winning or losing. Tibbs plays that game. They'll play smaller if it's tighter or something with game flow. But and I mean, you can get away with it with the Kongwu too, right? You could kind of run smaller there. So
yeah, and both teams played small in that game too. Gafford only played 17 minutes, so you had a lot of KP at center minutes, and I don't think that's going to happen a ton in this game where the Hawks just have to, by necessity, stick double big most of the time. Like Capella, Okongwu are going to split 48 at center, and Collins going to play 30 plus at the 4. So you're not going to get a situation like you did last game in the second half where you're gonna get smaller lines on both sides where you can get away with Randall at center.
Yeah, I think the note that Mike had there about the game situation dictating the lineups is really important, because I do think if they're playing from behind and decently behind, I think you're going to see more of the small ball line to try to influence scoring. And then also note, the 8-game sample was really helpful because it was all in the same time frame to look at and analyze this, but they also weren't playing as tight as they have been of late. So that's the other part that's a little bit tricky. And then another really weird thing, Julius Randle's rebounding rate actually drops with Mitchell Robinson off the floor, which at first instinct, you're like, man, Mitchell Robinson's such a good rebounder. Why would that be the case? And it's largely because it's a sample with it's largely because Mitchell takes more attention from the defense in terms of boxing out and stuff as well. But it's also that some of that sample, Mitch is a little bit more aggressive rebounder than Jericho Sims and Hartenstein and those guys. So I have a hard time trying to figure out what's going on with that sample, because Randall's been rebounding like crazy. It's 19+% over the last 10 games. For his career, he's like a 14-15% guy. So it's been a huge jump and been a big source of his fantasy production of late. Those are some of the things that we've been batting around and trying to figure out from a projection standpoint with the Knicks today, which is
you look at this season with the total rebound rate, think those 3 are pretty much identical in terms of rebound rate. Mitchell Robinson, Isaiah Hartenstein, and Jericho Sims. They're all 17, 18% rebound rate. So I don't think that there's a huge drop.
I just don't know why there's such a big difference for Randall when Robinson's on the floor versus when he's off. It's 16.5 when he's on and 15.3 when he's off. It's just it's strange. Probably just small sample variance is most likely the answer.
Two things to add really quick. I mean, last year and the year before, when Randall was a center, he put up numbers. If you look at his center splits without the other guys. And secondly, keep an eye on Quentin Grimes' minutes. He gets elevated when he's playing upper echelon point guard.
Trey.
We know that. We know they like him on Trey. So he did a pretty good job on Trey in the one matchup he had against him. He started one of those 2 games. But we've seen him get elevated against Van Vliet, Drew Holiday. All those high-end guards. Tibbs really leans into Quentin Grimes, which again, if you want to play Grimes and you want to play quickly, who are you going to cut out? You're going to cut out your centers. So
I think outside of foul trouble, Grimes' minutes are really solid tonight. I think the guys, the push and the pull is on quickly in the centers. I think that's where most of the push and pull is tonight.
So as of now, you have Hartenstein and Sims combined for 40 minutes. You said
40,
40, 41, something like that. Yeah,
and I would lean lower. If it was anybody else, I'd want to go 5 minutes lower. But
I think that would be aggressive given what we've seen. But I think where we're at is 42
was the Warriors,
42 was a baseline when they were playing less tight rotations before, and then we see a a 36 pace in the second half last game, and so we're
Mhm.
just like kind of inching our way towards. But I agree, if it was a smaller team, I'd probably want to be more like 38.
Agreed.
So it's tough though, because obviously, and we'll have this wonderful cycle that we have from Knicks fans, which will be that the Knicks will play their starters a ton. The Knicks fans will complain that they're not winning games because their starters are playing so much. Then someone will get hurt. You'll play the backups who are not very good. They'll lose more games. Then they'll complain that they're losing games, and we'll just keep going round and round. When none of the criticism will come on the roster that is not very good, and that is like that is this. It's a middling seed team, but Knicks fans will go round and round. All right, let's move to the probables and the returns. We should note Paul George and Kawhi Leonard back. Favorable matchup tonight against the Spurs. The question mark for me is the Paul George minutes and what the expectation is there, because they were a little bit limited in his first game back, and they looked a little less limited last game, but blowout foul trouble kind of got in the way. Justin, what are your thoughts on Paul George minutes expectations tonight?
Yeah, I mean, he was eased back in that first game. He sat the second leg of back-to-back. I think it should be pretty back to normal now. I was actually at that Clippers Sixers game, and
Nice.
yeah, I mean the blowout obviously skewed things at the end. We saw Jason Preston, they clear out the bench near the end of the fourth quarter. So he's had 2 full days off now between those games, and I expect him to be pretty full tonight.
Yeah, I agree. One thing that I was looking at some minute stint stuff, pull up the old popcorn machine. I mean, you're seeing the pretty long stints here. This one he's getting, pretty close to 10-minute stint. It's not something you usually see for a guy coming off an aggravated hamstring injury. So pretty clear indication that it was probably a minor issue, probably pretty close to full. We're not going totally full. It is Ty Lue, so we're generally not too aggressive in this spot, but I could see him playing a lot. Obviously the matchup is A+ against the Spurs. So there's a pretty, GPP wise, people probably aren't going to play him, but or maybe they are. I haven't looked, but this is a good case. I think Kawhi pops off here. His minutes have been so strong. Revenge, great matchup. His ball handling's been way up as well. Even with Paul George back, he was handling a ton. So yeah, we'll see what the Clippers can do. They need to win. Their defense has been really bad. They've been like 29th in the last handful of games on defense.
What do you have Paul George's minutes at today?
So
you got him at 34 right now.
Our guys started with 35.5 or 36, and I asked them to take that down a little bit because my thought on it is like, yeah, he'll be closer to full, but I don't think he's playing 40.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
And so if we get up to 35, 36, I think you need to have a chance at 40 in those spots because 32 is well within reason. I got him down. We're at 34 now.
Yeah, the Spurs are Jekyll and Hyde too, and this is a 7-point spread where the Clippers should theoretically take care of business with both those guys in. So there's a little bit of a lower floor there potentially if they this ends up being lopsided. I believe he played.
He was on pace for 34 in that. He was on pace for 34 in that game there. If you take away the foul trouble, and the blowout, so I think that's fine. I think 34 pacing is fine. I just don't know if when they're both healthy, I gotta think they're going to be conscientious of the opponents that they're letting these guys play 38, 39, 40 against because they're having such a hard time keeping them healthy. But we'll see. And I just don't think this would be one of those opponents that you would do that against. But
yeah, I mean, this is supposed to be just with the scheduling Friday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, the first 4-game stretch of the season where Paul George and Kawhi should all play together. So that was one noted by, I think, Law Murray, one of the beat writers from The Athletic. So I think they're expanding. Yeah, I mean, this is a stretch where they're finally, I think, able to get both those guys in the lineup together. Terrence Davis, midday downgrade. I think it looks like he didn't go through shoot around. So another guy to add to the mix.
Yeah, I don't think he was going to be in the rotation regardless.
Yeah.
So no changes there to our projections. Other notes, you mentioned the Nets. We did not get their filing at 2:30. They are on the second night of back-to-back. I know, Gallagher, you'd mentioned when we were talking through things earlier today that Jock Vaughn had some comments that suggested maybe a mass rest situation. Justin noted that they recalled Kessler Edwards. So there's a lot of tea leaves here. They're playing really, really, really bad basketball. They did play a good fourth quarter last night, but really bad basketball in the whole of late. Justin, I'll start with you. What are your expectations for the Nets? Who you think is most vulnerable to resting tonight?
Yeah, so I'm trying to pull up the Jock Vaughn comments right now.
I remember. So let me take that if I can.
Yeah,
so you remember back and I was all over this back when they sat everyone in Indiana. I was like very sure they were going to sit everyone. And Vaughn had very similar comments talking about, oh, we'll worry about the front of the back-to-back, and then we want to win that game, and then we'll see. He said basically the same exact thing back when they sat everyone. So I think they might sit a ton of people. Obviously, Warren not playing is a little bit different. Simmons getting ejected, maybe that changes some things. A game they should have had that changes some things. But I think Kyrie's got a really good chance coming off that calf injury that he aggravated from December as well to cost him a game. So I feel pretty good that Kyrie's going to sit. So I'm curious to see if there's any lines out there that the books may put out with net stuff. But we'll probably get that at 45 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, TJ Warren was a guy we penciled in obviously to sit, but only played 7.5 minutes. And Vaughn said afterwards it was about picking up his third foul early, and they went to other players to try to get the team going. Simmons only playing 18 minutes due to that ejection is pretty decent for his chances of playing the second leg of back-to-back. So I think circumstances changed things a little bit for those two. So I think Warren has a good chance to play. Simmons has a good chance to play. I think Kyrie's probably the most at risk of being rested here. 38.5 minutes yesterday, like Gallagher said, coming off that calf issue. So he's prime candidate number one. Who would you say? I mean, probably one of like Seth Curry, Joe Harris.
I think Harris would be my candidate number one.
Over Kyrie?
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, the Kyrie stuff, like, he finally got into a little bit of groove in the fourth quarter. Obviously, if they want to manage him, they can manage him. But like, he's not a guy who's had like a long history of injury stuff with Brooklyn. It's been more off the court stuff that's been the issue. Whereas like Joe Harris has had this like recovery to come back, and like they didn't know if he was going to play this season. I was just thinking back to back after playing 32 minutes, like that's a clear no. I think they probably sit like most of these guys. So I'm just ranking it in order of priority, but. I think their viewpoint on it is more like, are we resting Kyrie? If the answer is yes, we're not really trying to win the game anyway. So let's just rest whoever is going to help us win games in the future, which is Joe Harris, possibly Royce O'Neal, Nick Claxton, Seth Curry, and then kind of go from there. And Warren, they're still trying to get reps on. So the 8 minutes last night, he's probably okay. Sharp would play a lot. Cam Thomas would play a lot. And these guys would be good values because there'd be a lot of shots to go around, obviously.
Yeah, and Sumner would get elevated. Obviously, Cam Thomas would, be in dream world where he can take all the shots he wants as well. So, yeah, go ahead, Gallagher.
I was going to say, if I had to rank likelihood of missing, and I think you're going to agree with me, fan, Kyrie number 1, Joe Harris number 2, Seth Curry number 3, Royce O'Neal 4, Claxton 5, and then probably TJ Warren because he didn't play, then Ben he barely played. And then I think everyone else is in.
Yeah,
you don't want. Yeah,
I would have the same rankings. I would probably put 1A and 1B between Kyrie and Joe Harris because we already have Joe Harris on like our injury doc as someone we already are always prepping for potential rest on a back-to-back as someone we're always watching. So,
I'll put it this way: I could see a scenario they rest Joe Harris and not rest Kyrie. I cannot see a scenario that they rest Kyrie and do not rest Joe Harris. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think there's any scenario that they're like, oh, we're not playing Kyrie tonight.
I agree.
Joe Harris is going out.
I agree.
I just
agree.
Aggravating calf injury.
I think if they rest Kyrie, they're gonna just go and rest everybody else.
Yeah.
So I think that Kyrie's the first domino. For everybody else to go too. Yeah.
I just think he just the fact that he had a recent injury and these other guys didn't. That's my explanation for why I think Kyrie's a little bit more likely, and he could just be a one-off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would be very surprised if they just went one off. Very surprised on the back-to-back. And that injury report should come out at 3:30 Eastern would be the expectation. Sometimes they come out a little bit before. Obviously, follow at Underdog Fantasy NBA to underscore NBA to get all the notifications that you need. All right. Anything else I missed that you guys wanted to tackle?
We can touch on the Jokic thing real quick before we.
Sorry, that happened while we were going. Yeah.
It's like probably the biggest ones. That's still hanging. I mean, we've seen this spot before. Like DeAndre Jordan has started.
Mhm.
Jamal Murray benefits. I think Aaron Gordon was in a good spot already today. MPJ is generally disappointed in these spots without Jokic. We want to attack Indiana inside. So yeah, I think that's like the broad strokes of it. Anything specifically we want to point out with the situation?
I mean, Jamal Murray's going to get Nemhard, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that they're going to put single coverage on him. He'll obviously get more usage. We've seen him play a ton, so I think Murray, and he kind of had some he was in a mood after his post game presser. Just to add that, he was like kind of being a jerk to the reporters, not like in a really bad way, but it was very different for his tone. Just to add that, but yeah, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Maybe they run, they're probably going to run pretty big overall, even with Jeff Green in the mix and all that, because they're going to be a lot of size in the 5 spot for Turner out there.
This is really good for their other starters too, because we had some blowout risk factored in with this matchup. I think it was like 11 or something before. It's down to 9 now, and it'll probably move more. Obviously, if Jokic is out, so it just elevates the minutes towards of some of these guys. If Jokic is out, which is better.
I think it would be a really, really good spot for Aaron Gordon tonight.
Yeah.
And obviously he benefits a lot in terms of his efficiency being created by Jokic, but I think path of least resistance, that 4 spot for Indy has been a challenge defensively kind of all year long, whether it's been Jalen Smith or Aaron Nesmith, or they're guys that he has either big quickness or big size advantages on. And Jamal Murray's going to have a little bit of a more difficult path of resistance. And I think those guys were all salty because that game was just officiated very, very challenging. The Minnesota-Denver game, there were just tons of whistles. I think everybody was salty. And Minnesota's kind of had Denver's number a little bit. So I think Denver was just kind of frustrated that, they were hanging around as long as they were without all their guys. Okay. That'll do it for this edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. As always, please support the people who are supporting us. This show is brought to you by our good friends at Underdog Fantasy. They have daily NBA snake drafts for money running in addition to many formats of NFL playoff contests still running for huge cash prizes. If you're playing NBA Pick'em, in-season subscribers can use our tool to compare ETR projections to their fantasy Pick'em games. If you haven't signed up for Underdog yet, use promo code ETR for a matching deposit bonus up to $100. That's promo code ETR at underdogfantasy.com. If you are interested in more DFS analysis from our team here, it'll be myself and Gary Hartman behind the paywall at Established Run at 5 o'clock Eastern time with another edition of Established Show, walking through all the DFS angles, the GPP pivots, and of course the flag plants. Last night got one in my corner with DeAndre Ayton, who came out with a big game. And we'll talk more about how I thought I played the slate as well as I could have possibly played last night and got burnt by Saban Lee going nuts off the bench. We'll talk more about that on the DFS show later today. Join us there. If you are uninterested in giving us your hard-earned dollars, we simply ask for your hard-earned clicks. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, get notifications whenever we go live, and also smash that like button and help circulate within the algorithm. As we say, help us feed the algorithm.
It's his birthday, guys. Give him the clicks. It's his birthday.
Give me the birthday clicks. I'll take the birthday clicks. And we'll help feed you the information on injuries and all the analysis to help you make your DFS lineups and your prop bets and spread bets. Nom 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 nom. Get that cake like I will this weekend. Enjoy the weekend. We'll see you guys on Monday. Take care, everybody.